Why do you consider yourself a guardian of culture?
Because I'm taking on the mission of preserving and promoting a particular aspect of culture in the Virgin Islands, the Caribbean, and ultimately Africa.
And why did you choose to do this?
It's been a mission of mine for quite some time, and there's an interesting story behind it. I went to a university in Pennsylvania, HBCU, and it's actually the first degree granting HBCU in the United States. And it's really an international university. There were students from all over, and particularly Africa. So when I went there in the evenings, we would sit around and talk about our stories, where we come from, our culture, our history. I felt quite deprived because I grew up in St. Thomas. I went to a Catholic school. They didn't teach via history and culture. And so whatever I knew was what I picked up from my family, but formally I didn't study via history. So I felt that I didn't have ample information to contribute to these conversations. And so I told myself, when I go back home and I finish this, I'm going to immerse myself in some aspect of Virgin Islands culture and become an expert. I did not have the Moko Jumbie in mind when I did that. So eventually I did come back home, and a cousin of mine approached me who was a Moko Jumbie. Said, "You want to learn this?" I said, "No." And he kept bugging me for several times, and I finally said yes, and here I am 40-something years later. Well, my endeavor is to honor tradition, to honor our ancestors. This art form originated in Africa, and it came out of a spiritual context. And the costuming in Africa calls for you to cover your body entirely, because you represented the powers of God. You were the spiritual guardian of people. And so you need not show the human element, and they always kept their bodies covered. I like to honor that tradition. And one of the ways I honor it is by us making sure that the costuming that we wear covers our faces at the least, using a mask at all times. And when you look at still dancers with and without a mask, you get two different feelings. You really see and feel the mysticism, the spirituality of it when the person has a mask on, whereas when you don't. So, you know, the Moko Jumbies had died out in the Caribbean, and they came back again. And when I look at what's happening throughout the Caribbean, they are taking it in an entirely different direction, which is not necessarily negative. My choice is to honor our ancestors, and that's why we do that. And I make sure in the costumes and the movement and certain things that we maintain certain Africanisms. It's decided that I have
tradition of the Moko Jumbie, there's a deeper spiritual side. Can you tell us a little more about that?
Yes, the tallness of these entities on stilts represented the powers of God. They were also known as the spiritual guardian of a village. They would protect the villages symbolically from any evil spirits. They also played a sociological role in which they helped with that transition from childhood to adulthood and through the rites of passage. So all these roles really are spiritual. And again, as I mentioned, the costuming clearly indicates that it is spiritual because they did not show the human body.
So what are your plans for keeping this tradition going on after you're finished?
Well, let me just say that I've had the Guardians of Culture group for about 25 years. And over those years, I've taught close to 300 people. So that's really my contribution to make sure that it stays alive. But in addition to that, I teach young people how to teach. So I have a set of professionals, and pulled some of them in and showing them how to teach younger ones and giving them that latitude to do that. And that's one way I can assure that it stays alive. Of course, I can't force anyone to do anything when I'm not around, but hopefully the principles that they learn, not only the techniques, but the principles of honoring our ancestors and making sure that this stays alive maintains with them and they can continue.
Okay, where's the VI flag? I've got issues. What do you love about St. Croix?
Well, I love the quietness. I love the spirituality of St. Croix, really. We're grounded historically as farmers, and I've always been told by my ancestors that farmers and fishermen are closer to God because they're close to the elements. And really, St. Croix is representative of that, and that's what I really appreciated. And it's manifested in its people.